Should I be recording my local?
I don't think are we can if you need us to, but I don't think you need that.
This isn't that serious.
Okay. This is about, honestly, what we're doing here is pretty serious. Welcome everyone to another episode of Nerdstrodamus. I'm Dr. Pants.
I'm Lambo.
And Lambo.
Mm-hmm.
We've got guests.
They're over here.
Yeah. They are over there.
Yeah.
They are over there. We're joined by the Transmissions Podcast.
It's a story of a...
Do you think our viewers are going to get that reference?
Yes. Their grandparents will.
I got it.
No, I'm sure all of us got it here, but I presume some of our audience is a little too young to remember that.
If they watch WandaVision, they probably get it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. This is true.
They all watch WandaVision.
But
you have viewers?
Sometimes. I mean, our videos average what, like 50 viewers?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Not bad. I can't go any higher than this.
But we are joined by Charles, aka Big C.
Hello.
Jeremy, aka Yakko.
Hello.
And Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
That's me. Is that what your notes say there to tell you what my name is?
It literally is, yes.
Yes, that's literally what I put there. So there we go.
Guest, Daryl, Cybertronian Beast.
Actually, I wrote it out the same way Charles introduces you guys on the podcast, and I figured that was let's as we were talking before the show, let's keep some continuity in here.
Sure. Let's talk Transformers.
Oh, he said it.
He said the thing.
He says that in the podcast. Sadly,
I'm learning.
Lambo doesn't listen to the Transmissions podcast, as he's not a giant Transformers fan.
I'm out.
Yeah.
I knew it. I shouldn't have said anything. You ruined it for us. But how are you guys doing tonight? I mean,
Good.
That's good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us.
This is awesome.
You guys have had me on the podcast now I've been like a monthly guest host for almost a year.
Are you enjoying it?
What is time? It just seems like forever.
I am enjoying it. I've been having a blast doing the podcast with you guys. So it's a nice place to talk about Transformers because we don't do it much on this show. Because
No.
What are we
Once a
doing
year.
here?
We save it. we package it into one time a year.
Yeah.
And then that's when we do it.
Well, you're here because it's March, and it's March Madness at Nerdstrodamus, where we talk about robots. And we're a video game channel. You guys are a Transformers podcast, so we thought we'd talk about some Transformers video games.
March Madness was not canceled due to the pandemic.
Unlike,
it was last year.
It was last year. We released like one video, and that was it.
We had 2 videos.
Did we have 2?
Yeah.
Okay. I've been putting out daily videos this year.
They're getting more manic as the time goes on. Are you okay?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not okay. I'm never okay. But anyway, since you guys are on here, and normally when you bring guests onto your show, you ask them Transformers questions, we thought we'd ask you guys some video game questions. So we'll go one by one, and I'm not going to go through the gauntlet like you guys do. I don't have that many questions. I have like 4. So I'm just going to ask, and Charles, I'm going to start with you, and I know the answer to some of these, but do you play video games in your spare time?
Yes, when I have spare time, yes.
What's your general platform you play games on?
So I have been rocking the Switch for the last 4 years or so, but I am also a PlayStation guy. So Switch Lite, there you go. But yeah, I've had PlayStation since 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and I just got a 5. So yay! I scored a PlayStation 5. And so I have never owned an Xbox, so that's the one platform I have not really jumped into, but PlayStation, Switch, and a little bit of PC. Not right now, I don't have a gaming PC available, but in the before times I had a PC, you know, back when, you know, they were not multi-core, they were single core.
Yeah, as long as we've been
PCs.
doing the podcast with you, Charles, since 2013, you've always been a Mac guy.
Yeah, well,
So
you know,
way before times.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed. I think within earshot here, I've got 3 Macs. Yeah. So
There's a bunch of iPhones. There's
I'm
an iPad
obsessed.
here.
I'm
It's just,
obsessed.
but Charles, that's how we are here on the show too. We're big Switch fans. We also play PlayStation. Now, you and I have both owned Xboxes, but we don't really play much.
I use mine as a Blu-ray player. It's amazing.
Charles, do you have a favorite genre of game that you like to play?
I'm a fan of both the role playing game and particularly JRPGs and action adventure games. So like your Zeldas, your your third person action games. I'm not a fan of the first person game, the first person shooters, but and of course 2D platformers, Metroidvanias. I'm a fan of those too. So those are
What's
the
a
three genres I
JRPG?
stay in. Japanese role playing game, Japanese styled role playing games.
Right.
We're big on that here too. So we've done multiple episodes on JRPGs, but
Just JRPGs.
yeah, just
Not
on
other kinds. Just that.
we did one that was both back in the first season, 5 years ago. Okay.
I think I'm going
do you
to do poorly on these questions.
That's okay. You're not being graded. It's just participation.
Having
Charles,
high school flashbacks.
that's every day for us.
We've never left. It's never ending.
Charles, do you have a favorite game or a game that you would consider to be your favorite of all time?
That's hard. I don't think I could give you a single game that's a favorite. I mean, I'd have to, if you'll allow me to give like a top 5. I mean, I can
Please do.
like I gotta say Ocarina of Time, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time back in N64, Super Metroid. That's if I have a pinnacle of 2D platformers, and I guess modern day though, the really like I think the games that have kind of elevated the genres that I really enjoy, Hollow Knight recently, Horizon Zero Dawn, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Those have been the games that I've really enjoyed in the last few years. So.
And Daryl's keeping count.
He was doing the Imperial counting to 5.
Top, yeah.
Top 10?
That's fine. That's fine.
Okay, I'll stop there.
Cool. I mean, we love Ocarina of Time here, and in fact, we did a playthrough on the channel.
Oh, it was painful. But
Yeah.
we made it. Yeah.
There might have been a mental breakdown during the water temple and
A 4-hour breakdown.
4-hour mental
Screaming,
breakdown.
yelling, running out of the room.
Yeah.
It was good.
But I'll put a card up there for it so people can check it out. So we'll move on to Jeremy. Jeremy, do you play video games?
A little. Sorry, I banged my mic, but yes, a little.
He's got Stadia.
Yeah, I have a Stadia. I actually play GeForce Now more than Stadia. But yeah,
Okay.
in my copious spare time that I don't have, I do.
From the sounds of it, I'm going to assume you're a PC gamer. Do you play any other platforms?
I am. I have an Xbox 360. I have a Nintendo Classic. I have a regular Nintendo, like original NES that doesn't. I think it does work, but it's up behind that red box that has Blaster in my original NES and SNES. I play a lot of retro games through emulation on my Raspberry Pi, and most of the time though it's either PC on my PC or through GeForce Now.
Excellent, fellow man of culture. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. I've been obsessively like figuring out my whole emulation solution. I got a bunch of like little handhelds and stuff.
You bought a dozen.
Yeah.
You bought like a dozen emulation.
I like
handhelds.
basically every room in my house has something I can emulate on. Just because I want to be able,
Yeah.
I want to be able to fall onto something and be able to emulate it.
Do you watch Wolf Den? I've been watching.
Oh, yeah.
He's been going through all the different little handheld emulators coming out.
They're so good, and they're getting really good now. Like they're getting really good.
He gave me one for my birthday.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. They're like they almost feel like something like I don't know Nintendo would make or something. They're
Cool.
really nice.
Yeah, I'm about to move, and then after I'm settled, I'm going to be one of my projects I want to do is I have an old iCade kind of. It's an arcade cabinet that's Bluetooth that you would put an iPad in and play games.
Oh, okay.
And I want to break that down and rebuild it with a Raspberry Pi as kind of a little classic arcade cabinet.
Yeah, we've had that inkling a couple of times, right?
Yeah, I actually brought that up the last time
Yeah.
I was on their
Yeah.
their podcast. We were talking about that.
Mhm.
Jeremy, do you have a favorite genre of game?
A mix. If I just want to spend 30 minutes just kind of like relieving stress, I'll go into an FPS and blow away some bots. But more often than not, it's like an action adventure. I was really big into Assassin's Creed Odyssey in the last year. I was into the Google, what do they call it? Before they named it Stadia, was it Project Stream?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a while ago there. Yeah.
Yeah, I was in that
Awesome.
beta and I got a free copy of Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and that carried over. So now I play that on GeForce Now.
Sweet.
Oh, cool. Sweet.
So yeah, I've been enjoying that. I haven't gotten the Valhalla yet. And then I got a good deal on Steam. I think it was over the holidays of all the Tomb Raider games. So I've been playing through the newer Tomb Raider games.
They're really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're a lot of fun.
And then I'll just sometimes just go into the classic. SNES is probably my favorite retro console, and I'll play some games there.
Nice.
I mean, that's probably where it lies for us too.
Mhm.
It's always a toss up for me between SNES and PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I think I usually side on the I was at the SNES,
Yeah, it's
but
good.
the PlayStation stuff's so good.
Oh yeah, it's good. And Jeremy, last question: do you have a favorite game?
All time, I would probably say Super Mario World.
Classic.
That's this guy.
Classic.
This guy.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, Daryl. Hope you had time to prep. Did your research. You had two people in front of you, so you had time. Daryl, do you play video games?
Not often. No, I have a PS3 and a PS4 and an SNES Classic, but they're mainly they're mainly used for media servers in my house.
Yeah.
And that's wild, using the SNES for a media server. You'd have no idea how hard it was to make that happen.
I was gonna say you probably put more work into doing that than it was to find one.
I stumbled on my SNES, actually. I walked into Best Buy looking for something, and it was sitting on a counter at the in the video game section. I'm like, "Is that for sale?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'll take it." And I walked out with it. So
Isn't that how you found yours?
Yeah.
You
I
just
bought one right for me and my brother. I just grabbed two.
You just walked into GameStop and you were like,
Just
"Oh,
happened to get them in right then.
yeah, they were just sitting
Yeah.
there, and I was like, "Oh, I'll take it. Yeah, sure."
can't pass that up."
Mm-hmm.
Well, you already gave us your platform, so do you have a favorite genre?
That's a good one. I have been known to buy entire systems for Gran Turismo. So
Ooh,
Nice.
I will, yeah, I really like racing games, but they can't be just stupid, like Need for Speed kind of bullshit games. I really like the Need for, or the Gran Turismo type game.
So like a
And
more
it bugs
technical
me.
racer.
Yeah, bugs me that I've never been able to play Forza, so I don't have an Xbox, and I'm not buying a whole new system and learning a whole new controller for Forza. So, yeah. But I really like racing games, and yeah. So I would have to say probably racing, and specifically Gran Turismo is probably my favorite genre of game.
Nice. So is
You can-
great. No, go ahead.
Sorry, I was just to say, Daryl, you can probably get that on your PC, and then you can use your PlayStation controller via Bluetooth on your PC if it's, because I think like everything on Xbox is on PC.
And
Pretty much.
you could
Sounds
like
like a lot of work.
I mean, you could sign up for Game Pass on PC, which is
Yeah.
what, $10 a month,
Yeah.
and you get
I think
access
start
to
for like your first 3 months for $1. Just try it out.
Yeah. and Forza, the
Oh.
newest Forza is up there.
Mm-hmm.
Assuming
So-
it's available
wow.
in Canada.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Daryl's Canadian. Sorry, I didn't
Nice.
mention that. I don't know if that changes
Yeah.
anything
Yes,
about how
Canadian.
all my favorite musicians are Canadian. So
all of them.
all of them.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh.
What
You guys
happened?
kick me out? Somebody kick me out?
I did it. Sorry.
Cool. Well then, Thanks for that, guys. So let's actually talk about some Transformers
Whoa.
games.
What? I don't get the rest of the questions.
That was the last one was favorite game. That was it.
I mean, what? I got other favorite games. Don't I get top
Okay,
five?
then go.
Okay,
Then go.
I'm gonna do the top 5.
All right, then.
Y'all moving forward.
You know what? Charles did his top 6. You go ahead and do your top 6.
Top 7.
Top 7. Yeah.
I wanted. I can say that I wanted to get the SNES Classic because I had, as a kid, I had never been able to beat Maximum Carnage on my SNES,
Oh.
and it had bugged me, like through adulthood. I'm like, I've loved this game, but I'd never beaten it, and I'm like, fuck this game. And so the SNES Classic comes out, and I'm like, okay, well, I know it only comes with like 30 odd games or whatever, but everyone's telling me, oh, you can mod it. You can, you can make and put a million games on this thing. I'm like, I got to find one of these fucking things. So once I found it, I'm like, all right, before I even plug the thing in to play it, I found all the emulators for all the games, and I immediately put Maximum Carnage on there and played it until I beat it. And it was very gratifying. And then I haven't touched it since. So yeah.
Nice.
That's
nice.
a pretty, yeah.
Maximum Carnage was really the game that, I remember purchasing it with my own money and then spending days and days and days trying to play it. It was hard. It was a hard game for me as a kid.
Yeah. It was a red cartridge.
It was, which was
Yeah.
awesome. I loved Maximum Carnage. I also loved Separation Anxiety.
It was like the 2-player version, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the one I found out afterwards was the sequel. And I'm like, I can't play the sequel until I beat the first one. Doesn't make sense. So
You won't know what's happening.
Now beaten that. Yeah. It's the story.
Do you only play as Spider-Man in those games, or can you play as Venom too?
Both.
You
can play as
you
both.
can take over as you can play as Venom, and at a certain point you can kick over to Venom. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just for some reason Maximum Carnage didn't let you do 2-player, but Separation Anxiety did. You could play as one person Spider-Man, one person's Venom.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I
And the
played that.
soundtrack to the Maximum Carnage game. I mean, come on. Like,
Ooh.
was it Green Jelly? What was it? Did the whole soundtrack?
Mhm.
Oh, I think so. Yeah.
Was it legit rock group at the time?
My band played a show with them last fall.
You played a show
still-
with the guys who did the
Yeah, yeah.
Maximum Carnage soundtrack,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you didn't tell me?
Yeah.
I'm surprised they're still existing.
Yeah,
Like,
they
haven't
yeah,
broken
played-
up.
They play these itty bitty shows, and they still have to do all the puppets and stuff, and like
There were puppets
there's
too.
puppets. There's puppets.
I don't know if we can be friends. You're not telling me about
I
this.
mean, I think you guys have something to work out here.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is therapy. This is what we do. This is therapy.
yeah, we sit and scream at a camera for an hour. That's therapy.
Oh,
Well, Daryl, any more, or were those your?
I mean,
big ones?
I could go on, but I'm done with my games for now.
Okay, all right. Well, then we can actually get into the meat of this discussion, which is Transformers games, because we know that there have been Transformers games almost as long as there have been Transformers toys and series, because it dates back to the 1980s.
a while ago.
And we're up to the present, but I think the most recent game is that Transformers Battlegrounds game for Cyberverse, which Charles, you played.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. It was a game. Yes, it definitely was a game.
And
it was baby's first XCOM, I guess. It's a very simplified strategy game. So it's definitely more targeted for kids, which is fine. I mean, it's based on the Cyberverse cartoon, so but I just didn't find it to be have a lot of depth. It didn't really keep my interest, so I played like the first couple of levels and then didn't really go back to it. So
yeah, well, I think, and that's part of what I wanted to discuss here, is I think there's been more bad Transformers games and there's been good ones by a long shot.
I feel like it fits into a one niche, and it's like you can make an action game, because that's what people want to do with giant robots, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's basically
Yeah.
it. But because so here's the thing I want to bring up first is we're all Transformers fans except this guy. But to prepare for the episode, he did go and play a Transformers game. Lambo, you want to talk about what you played?
Yeah. So the first Transformers games ever were released in 85 and 86.
Yeah.
And one of them was for the Commodore 64, and I had a heck of a time trying to get it to run. but I found there was a Japanese only Nintendo game.
Yeah, was it the
Yes.
Return
Mhm.
of Convoy?
Yeah.
Mystery
The
of
Mystery
Convoy.
Mystery of
Yeah.
Convoy.
Yes. So, do you want to throw it up there and
Yeah.
you just
It
show
is
them what you
quite
did?
possibly the hardest game ever made.
Yeah, I had fun with it. So here's my playthrough tonight. So
This is a minute long.
yeah. It's like a minute and a half long. So you play as Optimus Prime.
Seizure-inducing.
That's Ultra Magnus.
That's not Optimus Prime.
Oh jeez.
You are losing all
I'm surprised-
credibility.
Oh, no. So I thought it was
I'm
adorable.
surprised you lasted a minute and a half.
I'm surprised you
Yeah.
could transform in the game.
It blew
Yeah.
my mind. You could transform.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, there we
that
go.
sounds about right.
I think the thing that makes it super hard is that you only have like 3 guys to start with.
Well, you only had 3 guys in
Yeah.
Mario.
Yeah. But I thought it was adorable that you shoot the guys and then they transform and then they run away.
I do like every time you die, it goes. Da, 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 da.
I think so. I was listening to something and they talked about that you had to do a catchy jingle when you died because it would give people more.
It would just make people angry.
No, it would make them want to keep playing.
Oh yeah.
Which is why when Mario dies, he's got like the happy little jingle.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Well, maybe
Pac-Man.
not happy, but you know,
So I love this. I actually figured out that like playing as the
car carrier.
yeah, the vehicle mode was like way easier because then I could shoot in like multiple directions.
Yeah, and you made it impressively far until like where is it? It's right up here.
So I mean, do you guys recognize any of these other characters? Are these things?
They're generic.
The tanks could be Blitzwing, I guess. The jets are Seekers, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't know what this hopping thing is that he like keeps stopping. I don't know what that is.
And the best thing yet, I got ultimately like 86th by
86.
by
A
that
flying
thing, a
shrimp.
flying shrimp. So I just thought you guys would enjoy taking a look at the past.
Move the window.
And yeah, that was it.
Yeah, so there was that.
That's
and
right. So Transformers is a hard time, because I remember playing the PS2 one.
Well, okay, so the
Yeah.
PS2 one, the Armada one. Have any of you guys played that one?
I have that one.
Briefly.
Back in the day, yep.
It was well regarded in the era.
Like, did you guys enjoy it in general?
Yeah, it was okay. I mean,
Fine.
it was based on Armada, so the characters, they're not quite the G1 characters, but what and it was it had a little bit of a kind of a Pokemon feel because you've got to collect the little mini cons that give you different power-ups for your characters, and you could play as Optimus Prime. I think it was Hot Shot and Red Alert, so those are the 3 characters you could switch between. And then you had all the the bosses were Decepticons from the Armada show, so it was it was definitely targeted for the current show. What I did like also is that it did have some Easter eggs, like it had those G1 PSAs that were actually never aired in the 80s.
I love those. Those were amazing.
So that blew my mind because, back in the day, of course, G.I. Joe had the PS, knowing is half the battle. That's at the end of G.I. Joe. But they never had those for Transformers. But it was
They made them.
a wild. Yeah, they made them. It was wild to discover these never before seen PSAs where Bumblebee is like, telling kids, don't step on those down wires or what I forget, whatever he was doing. But
I think there
Don't
was
key on those electrical wires.
there was one involving skateboarding.
Don't whiz on the electric.
Well, no, it would be don't lubricate on the
Yeah,
electric
oh,
fence. 'Cause,
man.
and I think there was one about letting girls play, but it's been a while.
they're probably on YouTube, so
Yeah.
I'm sure you can find them on YouTube.
Probably, yeah. That Armada game, actually, 2 years ago for our first March Madness, that was one of our top 5 favorite robot games.
It was.
But that was mostly because our other co-host, Punk, really pushed for it. But I wasn't going to argue.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I remember I was with you when you beat it.
it was
And
good.
then- yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I fought Unicron in the end. That was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, but they followed the Beast Wars games, which were horrible. So that might have been why Armada was well regarded.
This is true. I've played the Beast Wars, the original Beast Wars game, and I don't remember ever beating the first level because I don't get it. I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on.
I had to play it for the first time last year I was guesting on a podcast talking about Transformer games, and that was the one he chose to play. So I had to play it, and it was just absolutely horrible. And the voice
I
acting
remember
was
the
atrocious.
I remember the Transmetals one, the fighting game one. That was okay. It was the graphics were PS1 era graphics, but the fact that they had like all the Transmetal characters from season 2 of the show, like you could even be Ravage. I thought that was it was okay.
It was even characters who weren't in the show who had Transmetal forms, because I want to say you could play as Transmetal, Waspinator, and Air Razor.
Yeah, but, maybe I don't remember, but yeah, probably.
Didn't we play it like?
Yeah, we booted it up like
we booted it up like 2-3 weeks ago because I wanted to show him how bad it was, and
it was bad.
It was bad. It was bad. But of course, we've gotten the good ones where we had War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron, which I'm assuming you guys played those at least a little.
I didn't finish them. I have played them.
You're skipping the movie tie-in games.
What movie tie-in games? There weren't any. No,
there were a number of them, and they were all bad. But although I do remember them being some 2 DS games, an Autobot and a Decepticon version of a DS game.
Yeah,
and they were better than they deserved to be. I never played them. I never had a DS, so I couldn't play them. I don't remember.
I think you're right, Jeremy. I think you're right.
But
I was working at GameStop.
I remember hearing they were better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was working at GameStop when those were out, and I remember people talking about that they were actually decent games. Like some Transformers fans would come in looking for them because it was a decent game to actually play. The only ones I played were the PSP version for the first game, which was almost unplayable, and the Xbox 360 one for the first game, which it wasn't awful, but that's being.
I remember playing the PlayStation version of the first movie game and just running around this town as Bumblebee, being able to switch between car and robot, but not knowing what I was supposed to be doing in the city. And I'm just driving around the city, and I'm just like, where am I supposed to go?
Yeah.
They did get Shia LaBeouf to voice Sam Witwicky in the game, so
yay!
Good job. And I think Keith David was Barricade in the game, even though like he was supposed to be Barricade in the movie, but for some reason they switched voices, but he was Barricade in the game.
I think you're right. The other thing I remember is them putting other characters into that first game who were not connected to the movie at all. Like in one of the first few levels, you had Shockwave, who I think was a triple changer, and actually he was
he was at least a helicopter. I don't remember if he was something else, but
I think he turned into a turret, because I think when you run into him, he's like planted down as a turret firing, and then he goes into helicopter mode. But still, like I thought that was cool, but the game was terrible, and I never played the Revenge of the Fallen game. And was there a Dark of the Moon game?
Well, those DS games came out for the Dark of the Moon.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. And I think I'll echo what was said before, is that like a lot of these Transformers games were it was geared towards kids who just were into it brand new.
Yeah.
And I can probably say the same thing even for the probably old ones too, probably.
Oh, well, yeah. They were there to make money. That's all Transformers is. Everything is just to make money. They want to sell these. Make the money. But we did get, I want to say, at least 3 really good games, which was War for Cybertron, Fall of Cybertron, and Devastation.
Yeah.
Because I think those are the 3 that everybody regards as being cool. But of course, they're very, very G1 focused, even though
they're games that are targeted at the adult fan audience more than kids.
Yeah.
You're not mentioning Darkspark?
Well, that was a sequel to Fall of Cybertron, wasn't it? Where it connected. It was on the Wii U. We have to acknowledge it. It was one of the Wii U hit games.
It was made from the ashes of High Moon Studios.
Yeah.
Didn't it like somehow connect Fall of Cybertron to
movies.
The movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what was the movie at the time? Extinction, Age of Extinction, right?
Yeah.
I have Darkspark, and I've played I on my for my PS4 or PS3, and it's, I mean, they use all the same like Fall of Cybertron, you know, character assets, but then they switch over, I think, 2/3 or halfway through the game to the movie assets, and it gets weird at that point. It's not, it's, you know, you're running away from lockdown at some point, and I don't know whether he has a character asset or he's just a cinematic at the time, but you're always just running away from him. It's not a great game, but it's better to just have forgotten that does exist.
Yeah. And like, yeah, like it was brought up that was supposed to connect the War for Cybertron games in the movie, but the War for Cybertron games, aren't they the aligned continuity, which is supposed to be Prime?
Yes.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I gotta follow there.
It was supposed to connect your wallet to Hasbro. That was one of, that was just the reason.
Yeah, again, you're right. You're right. And before we jump into our final thing, did you guys? I have to assume at least one of you played Devastation. I'm assuming more of you.
We all did.
You all did?
I finished Devastation. That was one of the few Transformers games I actually finished, and that was actually, so funny thing about Devastation was that it was I think part of the scenario was written by Andy Schmidt, who was a former IDW comics editor on Transformers, and they actually put a little bit of IDW lore into the Devastation storyline, like you know, some of the backstory involved Nova Prime and you know, some other stuff, and then even they tease at the very end after you beat the game, they do tease the combiner Optimus Maximus, where Optimus Prime combines with the, you know, for the Autobots, and that's from the comics and the toys, of course.
Right.
But I guess if there had been a sequel to Devastation, that might have been added. But I guess Devastation didn't sell well enough to get a sequel, which is unfortunate.
It is mostly because I'm upset because Devastation was done by Platinum. And you know how I feel about Platinum.
The best stuff.
Yeah. Oh, they make really, really good stuff.
Yeah.
So I love.
And it had like a number of G1 voice actors.
Yeah. Platinum, I always spout about on the show. I always talk about how much I love their combat, and when you put that together with the look of Devastation and all the G1 throwback to everything, it was a great game. I unfortunately haven't beaten it yet. I have to go back to it, but I do love that game. And I think they gave it out for free on PlayStation Plus at some point.
They did.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Do you have it?
I think I'm almost.
Then you should play it.
It's on both PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. So, you know, that's so if you have a PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5, you can still buy it and play it. So
there you go. Well, you've got a PlayStation 5, so boot it up and play it at some point.
Don't do it.
I mean, it's if you want just kind of a repetitive beat 'em up game. I mean, that's my biggest complaint about it is it gets very repetitive.
Yeah, that doesn't.
Yeah, and like, you know, as a mini segue into our discussion here, there's so much cool stuff going on with Transformers. It, like, there's stuff that we're not taking advantage of, you know, because most of the time it's just an action game where you can just transform, and then maybe being in that other mode for a little bit of time helps you do something, or it's easier to get past something, and then it's used as a gimmick rather than like some important bit.
The transformation?
Yeah.
I mean, it was there as kind of a fast travel in the War for Cybertron games. Devastation incorporated it into the combos, which was a lot of fun. But you've got this lore with all these characters. A lot of them have unique powers that show up in the show, in the cartoon, in the comic book, but they never get used. So what we want to do here then is we want to try and pitch what your dream Transformers game would be. So what any of you would like to play as a Transformers game, or what you would like to see come out. So I think we'll start, right? Because this was our idea.
Yeah.
And it was my idea.
It was your idea, but
I dragged you along.
There's a lot of cool stuff to go along with.
It's your show. We're just visiting.
That's fine. It's nice to have visitors. It's weird when it's just the two of us constantly,
all the time.
Just two guys yelling at the camera about old games. And
one day you'll be let out of that room.
Well, at least I'm out of the robot room for now. If segue, if anybody wants to go on Instagram or our Facebook for Nerdstrodamus, you can find out what I've been doing for the past 3 weeks, and it's a little unnerving as I just scream about robots every day. So that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we do have a pitch for a video game, and this kind of comes on the heels of what we've been doing for almost a year now.
Yep, solid.
Which is we've been playing a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, which is a character-driven squad-based shooter. But this kind of drove an idea for a Transformers game because, as I said, Transformers is very character-driven. You have a lot of really unique characters, so we thought, why not make a squad-based action shooter game with the Transformers where you could pick any number of characters who get a unique loadout and unique power, and then give them a larger battlefield. What was it similar to?
Oh, we were saying like, it was sort of like a conquest mode in like in Halo.
Okay, so
Yeah.
like conquest mode in Halo, or if you play Battlefield or the Star Wars Battlefront games where you have this large battlefield and it's one side defending, the other attacking, and it can go back and forth. But
Yeah, or even the more like objective based things in Overwatch.
you can do that too.
You know, just to kind of think about it.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see larger battlefields because then you can take advantage of the transformation where you
Mhm.
could have the jets flying through, or you could have the cars speeding along, or motorcycles, or whatever else. And then people could pick their character to play as. And like I said, they get unique powers, such as like Soundwave could get the ability to eject minions to be autonomous little maybe spies on the field or do other things on the field. Trailbreaker could create a shield. Skywarp could have the ability to teleport. Mirage could turn invisible and be a spy. And again, like you do Autobots versus Decepticons. And I was thinking maybe like 16 players, like 8 versus 8 or 16 versus 16.
That would work.
Yeah. Have a little bit of small customization to the loadouts where you could possibly change out like their main weapon for one or two other ones. But I don't want to make it like War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron where you just had this huge arsenal of weapons that everybody could have. I want to make it specific for the person. Because like if Mirage is a spy, give him more spy-based weapons. Don't give him a big ion blaster like Optimus Prime, because that just doesn't make sense to me.
And you can have characters that are a little bit more who tend to be more auxiliary, instead of just being attackers and stuff like that.
Yeah. You could have support characters, like people like characters from the series who aren't just frontline soldiers who could help out in some way.
And then because the game needs to make money, you could monetize it with all kinds of alternate costumes, season passes where it's different events, all the different paint jobs from the different eras.
Oh yeah.
Like lose your mind.
Yeah, like there you go.
Glass.
Yeah, you could do, and that could be an event. You could do an entire like month-long event that's Shattered Glass, which is
I think didn't that mobile game that we always forget is still going on,
Earth Wars or
didn't they-
Forged to Fight.
Earth Wars.
Okay,
Didn't Earth Wars do a Shattered Glass event?
I
they did.
didn't. Mobile gaming is something we have talked about quite a bit on here, and I still don't get into it ever.
I dabble.
I know you dabble. And then of course the last bit for this is like make it online multiplayer focused, but of course give it a single player campaign, because the one thing I hate about some of these games is when there's no single player. Make it a campaign where you can play like Battlefront 2 for Star Wars, where you got like that one character that you went through the story with.
Right.
Make it some,
or even you could like customize your own.
Yeah.
That
Well,
would be
and
cool.
a generic Autobot or Decepticon you could kind of customize and go through a story with. But that's generally our pick. I want to focus on like a war aspect.
Because I was thinking about because a game that had transforming robots in it that worked really, really well was like the old Robotech games.
Battle Cry.
Yeah.
And
And just the way the multiplayer in that worked, even in like the PvE, player versus enemy modes, like you could just pick up and move and fly across the map and go do something and come back, and the playing with each other just made it so much more fun.
No.
And so if you had that ability in a Transformers game, if people could play with each other, it'd be awesome.
So what do you guys think of our pitch? Charles, I know you're not a big shooter fan, but would you at least try that?
Definitely. I would, anything with Transformers on it, I think I'm contractually obligated to to at least try it once. I mean, I played Battlegrounds, so I definitely I would definitely check this out. I mean, if you got the powers right for the individual bots and each bot felt different and felt interesting and unique to play, I think that would be a great selling point.
Jeremy, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think that'd be fun, especially having like multiple people being able to play. it'd be a great kind of a party game, or get a bunch of people online. I think that'd be where it would have a lot of repetitive play value.
Absolutely, because that's what we do here. We get online with our co-hosts almost every night and play Rainbow Six Siege because it's a good game to get everybody together and play with.
And in the game, like, everybody has their own weapons and their own special ability that is unique to them. And I think that was the thing that we kind of latched onto, that like that would make a perfect Transformers game, because it would force everybody to be so different from each other. Right. And
kind of
they would
have like an RPG aspect of it too. Kind of you're building up your character.
Yeah, and you could throw that in there and add some kind of like skill tree. Oh, like an ability unlock in Battlefront.
Yeah.
Let's just steal aspects from other games and put it on Transformers.
Got it.
That's fine. And Daryl, what about you? Do you like the pitch?
Yeah, I mean, it's good. I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate on this one though, and just kind of throw some what ifs or kind of some wrenches at you. So Transformers has a vast, like you said, a vast catalog of characters, and they're all different shapes and sizes and have a bunch of different abilities. When you're talking about a game that's I've never played Siege Rainbow Six, but I'm assuming it's very army based, soldiers, not a lot of differentiating looking characters, right? Might have 6 different character types, and something along that line, where there's
how many different characters
8?
are there in Siege?
We're up to 36.
36 individual different characters in that game. So
okay, do they all look different though? Like
yeah.
Okay,
they're all completely unique characters.
Cool. Okay, well that's more than I would have even thought. My kind of issue that I would see would be that you have all these different transforming characters that you'd have to somehow animate, right?
Yeah.
And if you started off any Transformers game that I've ever played, you might get 10 at most, right? And they have to be able to animate a robot mode and an alt mode, and that's a lot of animation for these guys. And plus, we're all old farts, so we're all thinking like this is going to be G1. So what if you've got somebody who's from the Armada era that wants to play as Hotshot, right? Can they play as Hotshot instead of Bumblebee? So they'll want to have Hotshot in there. So can they bring Hotshot in? Because that's a really big, plus if you can bring other characters and play them alongside G1 Optimus, right? That would be huge. So that would be, part of my kind of issue with it is it might be too ambitious to for the Transformers universe. But I like it. I mean, having everyone you play, before you had mentioned that you were going to add a single player campaign, I was like, I don't play multiplayer, so if it doesn't have a single player campaign, I don't buy the game, right? And that's my issue. I hate getting my ass handed to me by 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you on that. That's why I never got into the original Titanfall. I waited till Titanfall 2 came out because Titanfall 1 didn't have a campaign. But Titanfall 2 did.
Right.
So
I would love to play these games, but they got to be able to be. I want to be able to play them on my terms.
Right. As far as the characters go, my thought would be for our pitch here is you actually started the roster with a fairly low number and added characters over time. Just add to the roster, and I mean, unfortunately, this is the way it goes. But you could do a season pass where for $10 to $20 you unlock every character that gets released that year, and that gives them time to then update the characters.
Yeah, but the game would have to be really popular for that to all work.
It would have to be really popular. You are correct.
That would be the clincher.
And as far as adding in Hotshot, I would actually probably consider making it mostly G1 characters, but then adding in skins for other characters that could turn them into other characters. Like you could get a skin for Bumblebee that made him Hotshot or made Hot Rod Hotshot, and he basically played like the base character, but he's got the skin of that character. That would be my plan for that, because based on the idea of Siege again, like is it Ash who you can get a Tomb Raider skin for? It makes
Yeah.
her look like classic
Yeah.
Lara Croft.
But even like, you know, like in the Spider-Man game and then Batman games, you get all the different suits.
Yeah.
You know, that from all the different eras and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
you know, something along
Yeah,
the
but
lines of that.
with the suits thing,
Mhm.
the base body doesn't change. You're just
No.
strapping
Right.
a different suit on
Right.
it, right? These characters, the
You have
bodies
to-
change. They're not all the same
Mhm.
body type.
Right.
So that's my issue with Transformers.
Yeah,
is
yeah.
Unless you're doing
unless they're playing.
It'd be difficult to make everybody happy.
yeah, if you're doing a shattered glass type thing, then you're really just changing the
Yeah.
paint colors, right?
Right.
You could do it nothing but Starscream and the Seekers. Then you have one body type to worry about.
Yeah.
And the Datsuns. You throw the Datsuns
Yeah.
in there, and
There you go. It's just the planes versus the cars. There you go.
yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll just do that. But I think that's it
Yeah,
for
yeah.
our pitch. So, Charles, you want to go first since you're at the top there on our screen?
All right. So, you know, it's on the podcast, on the Transmissions podcast. I'm kind of known as the guy obsessed with lore and story and everything. And Daryl would say I hate action, but that's not actually true. I love action as well. But I would really like to.
Is your video
explore-
game a card game?
No. But I would like to explore how far we could take a Transformers JRPG, like do a traditional turn-based RPG, like in the mold of like a Final Fantasy VI, although with like a modern, 3D graphics and everything. But the idea was like take a scenario like you take the crew of the Lost Light is traveling around the galaxy, and you could go on each quest would be to a certain planet where there's some problem you have to solve, and you could pick different crew mates to go down to a planet, and so that would be your team for that particular world, and each character would have different powers and abilities, and your transformation would you could like that would be one action in the game where in your alternate mode you'd have different sets of abilities or different weapons or different magical powers, whatever the equivalent of your magical power is in
If this is based on Lost Light, they don't transform.
but I would also say since I don't have to actually create the budget for this game, I can just throw out whatever I want. I would expand it to have to say you could have a scenario where you could pick multiple sides. Like, so the Lost Light would be your Autobots, but you could also have a squad of Decepticons, and they'd have a different set of quests, maybe going to the same planets, but they'd have different objectives or whatever. And maybe even like a neutral campaign as well, like for a nail campaign for something like that.
They're just standing around and not doing anything.
And in the battle system, like it would be traditional turn-based battles, but you could have your characters would have summons where they could summon Titan characters like Metroplex, Omega Supreme, Fortress Maximus. That would be like like in Final Fantasy, you'd have Leviathan or something like that. So similar to that, maybe if you have the right set of characters in your party, if you get the Enigma of Combination, then you can combine, combine your characters for a particular action, and then you lose 5 turns in that round, but you have one giant turn that can has a screen clearing attack or something like that. So that would be my general idea, and the story, the quests. I mean, I don't know. Get James Roberts to figure it out. He'll create a great story for you and create great scenarios, and then you just work on the battle system and make sure it's it's exciting and fun. And that would be my dream Transformers game.
I
want to play that game.
Yeah, he hooked you the minute he said Final Fantasy VI, didn't he?
Yeah, I know. But I'm thinking about but then you could amass there'd be different characters. You have to do different things to like get them in your party.
Yeah, I mean, we're big JRPG fans, so I'm down for that. And
combining attacks and stuff would be cool because then you can combine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of.
The minute you said more than meets the eye, Lost Light, like I'm hooked because that's a great idea for that. That's a great idea. I absolutely love that idea.
And that would actually even, I mean, not to be whatever, but it would stuff like that works on mobile games real well too.
This is true.
So like almost every big game is like an RPG. All the big mobile games now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Even the Iron Maiden one. Even the Iron Maiden one's a JRPG.
Yeah, I still haven't played the Iron Maiden game. I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's
Just
cool.
gonna let you know. Just not gonna play that.
It's awesome.
So we'll go on to Jeremy now. Jeremy, what do you think of Charles's pitch? Would you play that game?
I would try it out because, like you said, we're contractually obligated to try any Transformers media. But I'm not the biggest RPG guy. I mean, I've played a handful here and there, but none have ever really stuck. Like, I've tried. Maybe it was because I tried the earlier Final Fantasy games. I just never even got into the later ones, which I'm sure are a lot better.
There's a sweet spot in the middle. You gotta
when I say early ones, I mean like the original one for the NES.
Yeah.
So anything later than that.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. Sorry, you mentioned later Final Fantasies. I had a flashback. I'm sorry.
There's a sweet spot.
There's a history there. Daryl, I'm going to assume you're not a JRPG guy, but would you play Charles's game?
Well, I would tell Charles I played it, but I wouldn't.
He'd tell me this is boring. I played for 2 hours and I didn't kill anything. At
TFCon a few years ago, we forced Daryl to play an actual like D&D style RPG, like in the hotel room, and he hated it.
I actively killed myself at some point. I tried very hard to kill myself, and I eventually died so that I could go and have fun somewhere else. But his pitch is interesting. I mean, obviously, the Lost Light comic was, and More Than Meets the Eye was a very successful, maybe not financially successful, but it was really critically acclaimed series. Right? It was very well received by fans and by people who read it. So I mean, the lore is there, and the actual gaming aspect of it for me seems really slow, like really slow. So I generally, the games that I play are faster, action packed kind of thing. I play Call of Duties. I play sports games, and
you played like the Spider-Man game on PS4,
Spider-Man games, right? All the Avengers game. I mean, we can talk about that at another time, but that's so. But I mean, they're action-packed games, so this doesn't sound like it would be very action-y packed. I'd play for 2 hours and I'd still be on the first cinematic. So
then you start looking for ways to kill himself.
Is this why
where's
like
the
what
airlock?
in Empire of Rust, wasn't it just Charles and Jeremy? Weren't you the only two who showed up in that one episode? Like Daryl did not hop in. I always assumed it was because no one asked Daryl, but is it because Daryl didn't want to play?
That's not why. That's not the reason.
Wasn't Daryl scheduled to be there and he just never showed up?
No, I was there. I was asked to be there, and had a pressing commitment of not doing anything. I mean, Mike puts an awful lot of work into it, and I commend him for what he does. It's really well done. It's not my thing, it's so slow. So I people love it, and I love that the people love it, and it's not for me.
We're D&D guys here, so we love that kind of stuff too, but we're into lore and story. Some of us are more into story than others.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. And I'll take a moment to actually plug Empire of Rust, since we're a gaming channel. If anybody out there wants to listen to a podcast that is a live play Transformers role-playing game, check out the Empire of Rust podcast. Is that how you guys describe it? A live play? Because it's not live action.
No, it's not.
Not LARPing. That's a different thing.
Live play, the first and only live play Transformers RPG podcast. Yes. So transmissionspodcast.com/rust. Yeah.
We'll make sure we throw all kinds of links in the description of the video for everyone so they can access all that. But yeah, so if anyone wants to check that out, there you go. But let's move on to Jeremy and hear his pitch.
All right. Well, I had to change some things up as Charles was talking because I was originally going to use the Lost Light characters, and
You still can.
No.
You still get Lost.
Yeah.
The Lost Light
uh,
was popular. It was how many years of Transformers?
no, it's fine. So, what I was thinking is, like as I mentioned, I've been playing games like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Tomb Raider, both kind of dealing with exploring old civilizations. And then also, I don't know if you guys have played Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
No, I didn't play that one yet.
Kind of on the same vein. I mean, that takes place. You're like a Padawan that survived Order 66 and just kind of making your way through the Empire, trying to eventually you're trying to find this holocron thing. But I was thinking a game in that style where you're going from planet to planet, but this is going to be in the far future. So you are a new character, or maybe a Beast Wars era character in their Cybertronian form, kind of trying to explore the remnants of Cybertron civilization. And you're going to planets that are familiar, planets that maybe have only been in comics or cartoons or whatever, picking up pieces, discovering this great mystery that would eventually, at the end of the game, you would have some key of fixing something in the past that had destroyed the civilization. So a little bit of time travel towards the end.
Okay.
And it would be a single player, no multiplayer, just kind of action adventure. And they're all falling asleep.
No, I'm here.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just kind of in the Tomb Raider, Assassin's Creed Odyssey vein of exploration, wide open worlds. You can travel from planet to planet. After you discover the planet, you can always go back to it and unlock other mysteries. And eventually, you would have the main quest that you would eventually lead to whatever the big mystery, but side quests where you can like discover about other characters. Maybe there are characters that still exist that will join you on your quest, stuff like that.
So that makes me kind of think of, because the only Transformers I am familiar with is Beast Wars. So there we go. But like, but when they first arrived on Earth, they like kind of scanned the world and found all the different like things to be able to transform into. And it would be kind of cool to also add that in, so that maybe each planet you go to, you sort of pick something up.
You could scan for the dominant life form and take a form.
And that would be super cool.
Would it be like an actiony kind of gameplay, kind of like Jedi Fallen Order and Assassin's Creed when it came to combat and everything?
Yeah. Okay. I would think so.
Okay.
That'd be super cool.
Yeah, I'd play that. I'm really, really good on single player hack and slash. And plus it'd be cool to actually for a game to take place outside of like an established continuity kind of in a way, but still be able to harken back to it.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking don't place it in like with G1 characters, because that way, we're kind of in a rut where it's always going back to G1. This way you can explore a planet that would have characters looking like the Armada characters, or another planet where they have more Beast characters. I mean, just you could explore the entire franchise, those style of characters through the different planets.
You could do basically what the colonies were in IDW at the end, where you had like Eucharis, which was the Beast planet, and Velocitron, where we got, was it Knockdown? Knockout? Knockout. Yeah. And like bring in all the different characters from different continuities and just have them be on the colonies. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I'd like that. I think that'd be really cool. And plus it'd be fun for people who aren't super familiar with like the continuity. It'd give them a jumping on point. They might not get all the references, but
you're learning the continuity through the game.
Right. That's pretty good. Charles, what do you think? Would you play Jeremy's game?
Yeah, definitely. I like the action adventure games, the open world 3D exploration games. So yeah, that sounds like a good time. And yeah, going to different planets, getting a different alternate form for every planet you go to. Maybe acquiring like a target master partner or something as a power. Or maybe multiple mini cons to like similar to the Armada, where you could get different power ups with mini cons or something like that. Or and then exploration, maybe meeting different characters and getting deeper into the history and stuff.
Yeah, and one thing in Fallen Order, you're following, like, you're unlocking these holograms of this Jedi Master that had gone this path before and left you all these clues. Like he left the clues for someone in the future to find, and maybe you could like find like Alpha Trion's hidden messages throughout.
Yeah, that sounds right up my alley. I would love that game.
Yeah, I'm 100% down for that. Daryl, what about you? Would you play the game, or would you lie about this one too?
No, I'm sure I'd play it. The more Charles likes it, the less I like it.
This would have lots of action, lots of NPCs to kill.
So
the lore, in these games, the lore stuff is optional. You have to hunt around for it, Daryl. So if you don't like it, you can just ignore it and just go fight, kill stuff.
Perfect. That's what I'd do. I like the idea of being able to hit different worlds and basically jump into different iterations of Transformers. The person or the character that you play being completely unknown, I don't know whether I like that. I'd like to play as somebody that you could the player could go out and potentially buy a toy of, right?
Yeah, maybe at some point it's revealed that it is a known character. It's just
like
not clear at the beginning.
If it's a Beast War, I mean, if you were talking about possibly a Beast Wars era character because it's set in the future, with there being at their Cybertronian mode, I mean, we all know they took on like different names kind of when they got to Earth. So you could have it be like Optimus Primal or something, and have it be him. That'd be cool.
Yeah. But no, I do like the idea of jumping around and just kind of figuring out what happened in the world kind of thing. It's a cool idea. Yeah, it's definitely not super slow. It's something that's kind of my would be my pace. I don't need it to be like nonstop action all the time. I just need to be able to punch and shoot things. So
it would have that
in spades.
Yeah. But cool. All right, Daryl, your time. Pitch us your game.
Oh shit! Well, here we go. This is going to be the biggest game ever.
Street Fighter 2, but with Transformers.
Yeah. So they put one guy on one side of the screen, one guy on the other. It's never been done before, and then they fight. But no, I've really enjoyed recently and you touched on it earlier, Scott. Is the Spider-Man games, the more recent Spider-Man games. They've been really fun, and I've enjoyed them immensely. The biggest fun I've had with them is, you can do the main mission or the main story, but you can also just kind of mess around and just swing around the city and just kind of hit little points in the city. And, the bad guys are dinking around on this rooftop, and you can go kick their butts. And that's something that I really like about the game. If I don't really want to do it, or if I'm on my way to go and, do this other mission that I wanted to do, I can skip all these different things and do really whatever the hell I want. And it's a huge open world, and I really love that aspect. My pitch would be to making an open world Transformers game where you have Cybertron as your open world, and it's literally a world. So you can drive, or you can use space bridges to bounce from one end of the world to the other. And if you're a Decepticon, you could fly to different aspects of the planet. That'd be fantastic. The fighting aspect of it is all about the story that you can and cannot do if you don't want to. It'd be a simple, basic kind of, Megatron's trying to take over the planet, Optimus trying to stop him kind of thing. Or if you want to play as a Decepticon, right, you're trying to take over the world, and you got this pesky Optimus Prime trying to stop you. But you've got all these little side missions similar to Spider-Man that you can kind of do. And as you're going from your story, you can also see that, here, the Decepticons are messing around in this little base over here. You can go take them out. And, and then you can do that and gain some points, and you can also earn different skins or different bots or whatever you want to do, whatever similarly to the Spider-Man game. You can earn different characters to use, but there could be an aspect where you could jump to different worlds being like the moon bases, right? Really, I wouldn't think you'd use too much world building in this. You wouldn't want to send them to Earth. In this game, maybe Transformers 2 kind of thing, maybe you send them to Earth, but essentially that's the pitch, is just an open world Transformers game where they can transform into their alt modes and drive around and that kind of thing, and interact and fight the bad guys.
Cool.
Nice. And that kind of like hits the thing of making the transforming a part of the actual game,
right?
Right,
which is a big
that's the issue, right?
Yeah.
My gimmick, it needs to be used correctly.
Yeah. My question is, you talked about playing an Autobot or Decepticon, which is really cool. Would you be generic Autobot soldier, generic Decepticon soldier, or would you have a specific character in mind that you'd want to play through the game as?
I mean, you'd want to play as a named character, right?
Yeah.
And you can fill out your ranks of NPCs with generics if you wanted them to, similarly to Devastation. But the majority of the characters you'd want to see throughout the world would be named. They don't have to be playable. They just have to be named characters that have a recognizable body type. But you'd want to be, the playable character would want to be somebody you could recognize or go buy a toy of, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Like Grimlock could have a whole bunch of side quests, and every once in a while Grimlock just like gets your attention, and then
I love that you did the T-Rex arms.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was thinking this actually sounds a lot like Watch Dogs Legion. Did anybody play that here at all?
Was that the first one?
No, that's the newest one. That's 3.
I played the first Watch Dogs a little bit.
Okay. The newest one, it's the same kind of open world game, but you can recruit other people and like be pretty much anybody in this open world, and each person kind of has their own different assets. And I could see that kind of working similarly, where you could be a different character whenever you wanted to be and switch out to some other Autobot or Decepticon. And I could see you doing different side missions for different characters then. That could be kind of cool. But I mean,
that would be neat.
Yeah. I love the open world games. I mean, we're big fans of the Spider-Man games here. They were absolutely fantastic. So yeah, give me more of that. Give me more of that. And you don't even have to put fast travel in it, as long as traveling's fun.
Right.
Because I mean, how often do you use subways in Spider-Man?
I've tried to use them more just because it is faster, and but one of the big things that I've missed in the Spider-Man game, and that I really hoped that Avengers would have, would be that you would be able to go around the city. And in the first game, like, I made a beeline to Avengers Tower to hopefully see somebody else, and there's nobody there. I mean, that was a big miss for me in Spider-Man. But for Transformers, if this game were to work like this, is that you could hit, Iacon, and you could see, Alpha Trion sitting there, doing whatever Alpha Trion does. Or you could go to, Kaon and see Megatron in the pits, or whatever, whoever's in Kaon there. You could hit these different landmarks that, in the comics have been established. And you could see different characters, doing their day-to-day kind of duties there, and maybe perhaps even interact with them, have 5 or 6 sentences that they could throw at you every now and then.
Okay. You could have all the featured characters be like your quest givers or whatever, like
Sure.
Ironhide says, hey, we got a security breach here, go kill these Decepticons and report back to me, or something like that.
Yeah, I could.
Which would then lead to being, you wouldn't want your character to be anything higher than Ironhide. I mean, you don't want Ironhide giving prime orders, right? So
yeah. Ideally, no. But I'd play it 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Charles, would you play Daryl's game?
Yeah, I mean, even though Daryl hates my game, I would definitely play his game.
My game's
I'm-
super fun.
I also enjoyed Spider-Man, although I still have to finish it. I haven't finished Spider-Man yet. I did get Miles Morales too, so I now I'm in Daryl's situation with Maximum Carnage. I got to finish the first Spider-Man before I play Miles Morales. So, but those are great open world games. I love those games. So yeah, I would definitely be down for a Transformers open world game. If you could fill out the entirety of Cybertron and go to all these different places on Cybertron, go to the moon bases, have lots of different quests to do different things, and that would be awesome. I think it would work if you could you'd have multiple characters you could play as. So maybe your main character is like a named character but a lower level kind of grunt or whatever, but then for different missions you could play as different characters, and I think that would be great.
You could have a motivation for you to, if you could earn things as you progress through the game, you could earn a higher ranking character that you could do different missions or better missions with, right? Like you can't get to the final mission until you get to this final character, right?
Start off as Hot Rod and you're like and Cup's training you, and then by the end of the game you're Rodimus Prime. There you go.
Yes.
But you gotta kill Prime in the middle of the game.
No, you see Prime and Megatron fighting, and you just kind of drive on by.
Hashtag Hot Rod did nothing wrong.
It's like your choice is it to drive on by or to go and try to help, and you help and Prime dies.
Or you drive by and he still dies.
Well, no, you drive by and Prime lives, and then you can never become Rodimus Prime, and you lose the game.
I mean, wasn't there a comic that did that? Wasn't it like Deviations or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was fun. That was fun. But Jeremy, what about you? Would you play Daryl's game?
Yeah, it seems like fun. I think it would be neat if you had like a few different characters that you could choose to play as, and that would choose your starting point. Like, say you wanted to play as Ratchet, so you're starting off in the medical center, and your early quests would have maybe focused on medical stuff. Or if you're Starscream, you're starting, in the Air Corps, and then eventually you would go through and earn everything. But I think that would give it a little bit more variation in play. But yeah, it seems like fun.
I think we've pitched a lot of really good.
Oh yeah,
games
actually,
here.
I want to play all these games.
Yeah, I know,
They
right?
Sound good.
And none of them are Beast Wars, which is
And
like
none of them are.
Mine
Everybody
kind
has
of.
pretty modern ideas too. That kind of fit and emulate really good modern titles.
Yeah. I mean, the only one I would argue is probably Charles's, because he went back to like classic JRPGs, but we need more of that. We need more of that anyway.
But we need some good.
You could still do the the modern Coat of Paint with the 3D rendered graphics and everything. So,
Yours needs to look like an SNES game.
Yeah, and all the romancing side characters and stuff like that.
Oh, we're going full IDW romance. Everybody couples
You
up.
could romance side characters. Yeah.
Side characters, no. Romance every main character.
Who's the princess then?
Yeah.
Who is the princess?
Ariel.
Chrome
Who needs
Dome?
to be saved?
I was actually going to joke and be like, Megatron. IDW Megatron is the princess. That's the main love interest. That's the big one
Tailgate.
you want.
Tailgate's
The princess. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. But guys, this is a lot of fun. There were a lot of really cool ideas, and it's been a blast. Absolutely, like just talking about this stuff with you. So thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. It's been awesome, guys.
Yeah, it's a little sad to think about that. Probably none of these games will ever get made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless
We lost the best Transformers game ever, the card game. This past, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And we didn't bring it up, but like I'm particularly sad about the card game. I really got into it. I was actually in a league at my local card shop and played it a lot, and the fact that it's over kills me.
Yeah, I even enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I got him to play it.
Yeah.
But I know you guys were collecting the
still
cards.
own the cards. If
Yeah,
you
I
still
know.
own the cards. It's not over.
Yeah.
You can still play it.
Yeah, but it's but having the league there was like a reason to get people together, and now no one wants to get together and play it. And
Yeah,
Well,
I
this is a
have all these
pandemic,
cards.
too.
I have yet to play a game. I have a bunch of cards.
Well, eventually, when there are conventions again, and Transformers fans get together, I'm sure there will be people playing the card game, and hopefully, Jeremy, you can play it.
I've been at conventions where they play the card game. I just find something different to do.
Well, then you know what? Hopefully, I show up at a convention where you're there,
Yeah.
and I'll make you sit down and play it. I will get you to
Okay.
play the game a little bit, because
That's
it was absolutely a blast. I loved it. But anyway, thank you, Transmissions, for being here. We really appreciate it. So thank you to Charles, Jeremy, and Daryl. And we'll give you guys a chance. Do you want to plug your show for us? You're always so nice to your guests and let them plug their show. So you plug yours.
Charles.
All right. Okay. All right. Transmissions as a Transformers themed Transformers podcast. We do 2 shows every week. Every Wednesday, we do Transmissions, the toy show all about Transformers toys and merchandise. And every Friday, we do Transmissions Alt Mode. It's all about Transformers comics and media. And you can find all our episodes and podcasts at transmissionspodcast.com. We are on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. We're everywhere that fine podcasts are found. So Transmissions Alt Mode. And of course, we already mentioned Empire of Rust, our live play Transformers RPG podcast. That's done by our awesome producer and editor, Mike, and his crew. And that's at transmissionspodcast.com/rust. We also have another show, Transmissions Extra. That's, we do some random pop culture topics. That's more sporadic. That's not every week. That's, whenever we get around to it. I think we're threatening an MCU Disney streaming episode / Snyder Cut episode at some point in the future. We'll see. I haven't watched the Snyder Cut yet, so I don't know.
I finished it this morning.
I'm proud of you.
I gotta
It was all right.
carve out four freaking hours for this.
I watched it over the course of like 6 hours on Friday.
Wow.
But so that's Transmissions, transmissionspodcast.com. Very easy to remember and find.
And we'll throw links in the description for the video.
We'll be there.
I think this video is also going to go up as a podcast because I think it's going to bring up some good listening material. So for anybody, there was all your plugs for Transmissions. Please go check it out, especially if you're a Transformers fan. These guys are a blast. They are a hoot to listen to, and they make driving to work every Wednesday and Friday a little bit more bearable.
We're a hoot, eh?
Yeah, you're a hoot. A blast. Whatever other long unused word I could come up with. But anyway,
Hoot, don't you know?
But thanks, guys, and
it's been a pleasure. Nice to meet you all. Yeah.
We'll try and have you guys back at some point because with knowing that you're into some gaming and there's plenty to talk about. I know I talked with Daryl. He's got some things to say about the Avengers game and the Spider-Man game, so. Maybe we'll bring him back along with Punk to talk about that because Punk is our other co-host and he's into that stuff. So we'll see about that. But for this episode of Nerdstrodamus, thank you everybody for joining us. I'm Dr. Pants.
Lambo.
We'll see you guys some other time.
Bye.
Later.